Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Friday evening. Hope you all have had a fantastic Friday. Hope you all are looking forward to the weekend. The weekend without Everton, something that I'm sure last Saturday afternoon when we all stopped watching that absolute shambles against Watford, we thought, get in. At least next weekend we'll be able to have a couple of days without having to worry about Everton. We do, of course, play Wolverhampton Wanderers on Monday night. It is the game preview ahead of that game. A really, really difficult test for Everton coming up against the Wolves side, who didn't start the season too greatly, obviously under new manager Bruno Lage. However, over the last couple of weeks or so, I've really started to pick their form up, getting results, getting wins, picking points up in difficult games. Obviously, we've seen them win 3-2 away to Aston Villa, scoring 3 goals in the space of 10-15 minutes towards the end of the game. Villa were 2-0 up and completely through that game. Something that Everton are very, very, understand very, very much so, of course. Again, 2-1 up with 50 minutes to go last week, and we know how that one turned out. So, again, Wolves are in, decent form. They've got some really, really good players, and it'll be a really, really difficult test for Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez has had his pre-game press conference earlier today, and much to our disappointment, I suppose is the word I would use, he did announce, or he did state that Yerry Mina will be missing for this game on Monday night. He is still recovering from a hamstring problem. Fabian Delph is training with the team and getting better, but we don't know whether he will be available. And in regards to overall injury news and overall fitness news, the manager said that it's a little bit too early to tell who will be available and who will not be available, because they've still got a couple of training sessions to go ahead of Monday's game. But we do know that Yerry Mina is still nursing that hamstring problem, and Everton are unlikely to have him available. In fact, he's out for the game on Monday. So that obviously is massively, massively disappointing news, and news that we didn't want to hear today from Rafa Benitez. I wanted to sit down at 1:15 or whatever time it was this afternoon and hear Rafa Benitez say, yes, Yerry Mina's back, he's fit, he's gotten over that problem that he had, he's fully fit now after the international break, he's ready and raring to go. Because obviously the defensive display last weekend against Watford was an absolute utter shambles, and it became quite evidently clear that Yerry Mina is our most important centre half in that game, and it became quite evidently clear that without Yerry Mina in that back line, it is an absolute shambles from the left back to the centre backs to the right back. None of them seem to be able to defend without Yerry Mina in the back of in the centre of that defensive structure. So again, being without Yerry Mina is a massive miss, coming up against a Wolves side with a lot of quality going forward. Just obviously getting Raul Jimenez back, of course, after that horrific injury. Great to see him back, but obviously not very good to see him scoring goals when you look at, the fact that Everton have got to go and face Wolves at Molineux on Monday night. They've got the likes of Adama Traore, Hwang Hee-chan, who they signed in the summer. Really, really good striking option, goal scorer, gets on the score. He'd already scored a couple of goals for Wolves since joining in the summer. Actually, a player that Everton were linked with a couple of times over the last couple of years, and I actually was quite an advocate of Everton going and bringing him in. But, it didn't happen. Wolves obviously went and brought him in. They've got Ruben Neves, Pedro Neto, so they've got a lot of quality in that Wolves side. Obviously, there's been a massive change over the last 12 months at Wolves, going from Nuno Espirito Santo, who, of course, had been at the club for a while, got them promoted into the Premier League, stabilised them in the league, had them, fighting for Europe for his first couple of seasons in the league, and obviously last season it didn't quite go well for Nuno Espirito Santo. He was almost trying to transition, to a different style of football, a different way of playing. Obviously, we know Wolves as a team that, play the 5 at the back formation and attack, with fast, quick players on the wing, and it didn't quite work for Nuno Espirito Santo last year. Obviously, he left the football club, went on to manage Tottenham, and they brought in Bruno Lage, and I think overall it was a little bit of sort of probably optimism from Wolves fans, but also a little bit of, how is this going to go? What's the change going to be like? How are the players going to react to a new manager? But as I said, currently sitting 11th in the Premier League. Nearly said 11th then. 11th in the Premier League. 9 games played, 4-1, 1 drawn and 4 losses, 13 points, just 1 point behind Everton. So if they do win or pick up a draw on Monday night, they'll be level points with ourselves. And as I said, 4 wins, 4 losses, a draw. A pretty bang average start to the season, you would say, but a lot of their wins and a lot of their more positive results have come in the more recent weeks, which isn't great from an Everton standpoint. And obviously, look, we don't need to sit here and talk too much about the game against Watford last weekend. We know what Everton have got to do. These players have ultimately got to go out there and show us why they deserve to be playing for Everton Football Club, why they care about playing for Everton Football Club, because that display last weekend, again, I don't want to get too deep into it because I'll end up winding myself up and go on another 30-40 minute rant about it, but it was the worst I've ever seen as an Evertonian. That 15-minute spell was the worst defensive performance I have ever witnessed in all of my life supporting this football club. It was absolutely shocking from the minute we conceded that equaliser until the final whistle. It was just an utter disgrace. The four defenders in that back line, I hope they went home and held their heads in shame, because it was absolutely shocking. And ultimately, this Everton side have got a massive task now. We're still without Dominic Calvert-Lewin going into this game on Monday. We're still without Yerry Mina, as we've mentioned. The manager did speak about Richarlison and said mentality-wise, he's ready to start. Fitness-wise, he's not quite 100%, but we'll wait and see what happens. So again, we might be in a situation where Richarlison doesn't start. Hopefully he will, because I don't think I can watch another 60, 65 minutes, 70 minutes of Solomon Rondon doing nothing up front on his own. And I don't think I can watch another 90 minutes of Solomon Rondon doing nothing at all, to be honest with you. But again, that's not confirmed. We still don't know whether or not Richarlison will be available to start off from the off on Monday night. So it's a really tough test, a really difficult test for Everton, and I'm not looking forward to this one in the slightest, to be honest with you. I will be travelling down to Molineux myself to go and watch the game live, but I'm really not looking forward to this one because, with other teams, Wolves might be looking at this game thinking, do you know what? They've just had an absolute spanking at home. They've just been embarrassed. The fans are up in arms. There's a lot of, differences in opinion in the manager, because obviously of his, his previous connections with certain other clubs, and the players that, a lot of fans are sort of starting to have a go at the players. Again, this is it'd be a difficult time to play Everton, because they'll want to bounce back. They'll want to have a reaction, but I just don't know whether I believe fully in myself that that's what we'll see on Monday night. I'd love to be able to sit here and say, do you know what, we'll be fine, because there's not a chance those players will go out and put another performance in like last Saturday. There's not a chance they'll go out and aimlessly lose without giving it 110%, without signing their orders, without battling, without fighting, without showing that they want to win the game. There's not a chance they will, because they did it last week, and obviously, we got absolutely battered and everybody turned against them. Most teams would react after a performance like that last week. Most teams would come out, and it would almost be the worst time to play in Everton, because the players actively knew they had to go out and put a performance in. I don't know whether I believe in myself from 23 years of watching this football club. I don't know whether I believe in myself that Everton would do that. I'm sort of looking at this thinking Wolves probably should be thinking this is the best time to play Everton. Heads are down in the dressing room. There's jury out about the manager still from fans, even though a lot of fans will probably want Rafa Benitez to stay at the football club. There was a lot of negativity after the game on Saturday on social media and towards the players, towards the manager, etc. It's simple. These players have to go out and show a reaction on Monday night. There is no other there's no other outcome. I'm not saying that we've absolutely got to win this game. For me, we've got to win this game, because Wolves are the side that, again, as I said, point behind us, relatively average start to the Premier League season, and typically over the last few years or so, Wolves have been a side that have been challenging for Europe. Now, obviously, last season was a little bit different, of course. They had a bit more of a struggling season, but typically over the last couple of seasons or so, Wolves have been a side that have been right in there in the mix for European football. So if Everton are wanting to be seen as one of those sides as well, then we've got to be able to turn up against teams like Wolves, who are also in that, sort of hat, if you like, and get results. But again, I'm just not 100% confident that these players have got it in them to go out and show a reaction on Monday night. But it's simple. Go out and give it 110%, battle for every ball, fight for every ball. It's going to be massively difficult. We're still without Abdoulaye Doucouré, who of course is an absolutely gigantic miss. We done a video a couple of weeks ago when Abdoulaye Doucouré, before he picked up his injury, saying, talking about how he's the first name on the team sheet, and there was people in the comments giving us various different other opinions about, Andros Townsend or Alan or, Damari Gray, and that's fine, that's absolutely fine. But I think last Saturday proved that Abdoulaye Doucouré is the most important player in this Rafa Benitez system, without the shadow of a doubt. I'm not trying to deny the importance of Andros Townsend or Damari Gray, etc. But it seems like without Abdoulaye Doucouré, we just cannot function. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Rafa Benitez sets up on Monday night. Is he going to persist with the partnership of Alan and Tom Davies in the midfield, despite the fact that they've got about as much mobility as me nan, and she hasn't got very much mobility? Good technical footballers, yeah, but there's just simply not enough power in that midfield with those two in there. There's not enough energy, there's not enough mobility, there's not enough pace, there's just not enough in there. And they will be easily overrun, as they were against Watford last Saturday. Will he persist with the centre-back partnership of Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane, despite the fact they put in the worst defensive performance in the last 23 years from an Everton centre-back partnership? Now, okay, he hasn't got many options because obviously Yerry Mina is still out injured, but will he maybe push Mason Holgate in there? Will he maybe put Ben Godfrey at right back and utilise him there instead? I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what the manager decides to do, or how the manager decides to set up, because as I said, Wolves aren't a team that should be taken lightly. This is a really, really difficult game. It's away from home for a start, which is obviously, always more difficult. And as I said, it's against the side that will be looking at this Everton team thinking, right, we can get at these now. We can have a go at these. These can be exploited. These can be beaten. And it's up to this squad of players to go out and show a reaction. We spoke after the West Ham defeat about how it's not really about losing games of football. It's not really about the end of the world when you lose a game, because you'll always lose a game of football. Every team in the world will lose games of football throughout the course of a Premier League season. I mean, when was the last time? I know obviously Arsenal done the Invincibles and all their fans love to talk about it, but when was the last time around Europe, in any of the European leagues, that a single team won a league without losing a game? Certainly any of the top leagues around Europe, when was the last time that happened? So, teams will always lose games. Teams will always have off days and off performances. And I don't particularly think the West Ham game was that big of a deal, to be honest with you. It was a very tight game of football, a very even game of football, and they happened to get a corner. And we know, as we've spoken about before, we are the worst team in world football at defending balls into the box. We conceded the corner, they went on and won the game 1-0. It was very disappointing from our point of view, but it was a very tight sort of even game up until that point, and even after that point, and they walked away with the 3 points. Not the end of the world. But as I said, it's not about losing games, it's about how you react to losing games. We saw, obviously, we lost against Villa a few months back. We lost against QPR in the cup. We then come back. We played Norwich at home, which was arguably one of the easiest games we could have played. In fact, the easiest game we could have played. We reacted. We got the 2-0 win. We went to United. Really, really good performance. Really good result out there. And again, we lost to West Ham, and you were sort of thinking, right, Watford, how many easier teams will you face in the Premier League than Watford? And that's no disrespect to Watford. They played really well last week, and their mentality and determination was brilliant. But let's be honest, they're in a relegation battle, and they will be come the end of the season. There's not many teams, easier sides per se. Not any. There's no games in the Premier League that's easy, but there's not many teams Everton could have played that would have given us, less of a difficult game, or than Watford did. Than Watford was supposed to do, let's say, on paper. Now, obviously, it didn't turn out like that, but that was the biggest worry for me last week. Wasn't necessarily, it was the defensive performance, and it was the loss and all of that, but in between that, it was the fact that we didn't show a reaction to losing to West Ham. We almost sort of come out and our heads had dropped. It was almost like we didn't believe in ourselves. Again, the performance wasn't great. Okay, we were 2-1 up with 50 minutes to go, but the performance wasn't great. So that was my sort of biggest worry after the defeat to Watford, was that we didn't show a reaction after losing to West Ham. And I look at this game on Monday night, and I think, will we show a reaction after losing to Watford? Will we come out and be firing from the start? Will we want it more than they do? Will a fight be there? Will a battle be there? Will the determination be there from the players? I don't know. I really, really don't know. And if it's not there, then I fear that it'll be another 90 minutes of football where it's a really, really difficult watch, and we come away from the game with absolutely nothing, because, as I said, Wolves are a difficult team to play against. Certainly a difficult team to play against away from home. They've got some good quality players. They've had some good results recently. They've got a new manager, so they're playing with confidence. And it's on the players now. As I said, it's simple. Win, draw, lose, put that to one side at the moment. The way we approach this game is simple. These players need to go out there and show us why they deserve to wear that Everton shirt. Because based on last week's performance, barring one or two, maybe, and one of them, only come on with 15 minutes to go, there's not many of those players that deserve to wear that shirt and should ever wear that shirt again based on that performance last week. So go out there and show us why you do deserve to wear the shirt and make us all sit here on Monday night and go, okay, we were awful last week, but let's put that to one side. What a performance today. What a result. What an absolutely top game of football. That was what a reaction from this Everton team. Because we were great against Manchester United. We give it 110%, we battled, we fought. We wanted it more than they did. So why can't we do that against the Wolves or the Watford? And that's the big thing for me on Monday night, is that this Everton team show a reaction. Because, again, Wolves are a good side. They're in some good form. They've picked up some good results recently. And they've got some good, players. But if we go out there and we give it 110% and we battle and we work hard and we fight, and we want it more than they do, and we make sure that we show that we want it more than they do, and we actively go out there to win the game, then I think we can win this game. It's not beyond winnable, is it? It's not like we're sitting here saying we're coming up against Man City away or something like that. So even if we do perform at our very best, we're not going to get anything out of the game. Wolves are a beatable side. You can get at Wolves, you can beat them, you can exploit them defensively. But we've got to want to be able to do that, and these players have got to be able to show that they again, as I said, they're deserving of wearing that Everton shirt. They want to, fight for this club. They want to battle for this club. They want to work hard. They want to, play for Everton Football Club ultimately, and that's my biggest sort of concern, is will the players show that? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I really, really don't know. So again, it's a really, really difficult game. If you're watching live, by the way, please do get your thoughts in the live comments, and we will be getting involved with as many of them as we possibly can a little bit later on in the stream. If you're enjoying, please hit that thumbs up button. I want to say as well, before we go any further into the live stream, we hit 5,000 subscribers on Tuesday night, the night before my birthday. Honestly, I cannot thank you all enough. I never even envisioned when I made the first video on this YouTube channel, which was a game review of, I think it was Marco Silva's first Premier League game in charge, whatever that was, Bournemouth or Wolves. It was Wolves. It was Wolves because it was the game that Richarlison scored. It was the 2-2 against Wolves. I'd done a review to that game, and I never, ever, ever would have imagined that we'd have hit 1,000 subscribers, never mind 5,000 subscribers, and we hit it on Tuesday night, just before my birthday. It was the best early birthday present I could have asked for, and I just want to say a massive, massive, massive thank you to everybody for subscribing, for staying with us, for getting involved in the live comments, for watching the YouTube videos, for liking the videos, for commenting, for getting involved, for anything. Even if you just watch and you don't comment, even if you just watch and you don't like or you're not subscribed, thank you very, very, very much, because honestly it means a massive, massive amount to me from the bottom of my heart to hit 5,000 subscribers. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing feeling, and I really, really, really do appreciate all of the support. Honestly, I really, really do. Listen, the channel's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. We're only going to do more content. We're only going to be bringing more videos and live streams and various different types of content. I have got another separate sort of video / live stream planned over the next couple of days or so, where we're going to sit down and just have a little bit more of an informal, I suppose, laid back chat, of all things sort of Everton, I suppose. But I've been a little bit busy this week with being away with my birthday, and I had to help my brother move house today. So it's been a little bit manic this week, but I want to say a massive thank you for 5,000 subscribers. Honestly, it means a massive amount to me. If you're watching as a YouTube video, as I said, get your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching live, get them in the live comments. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed it as well. And if you're new and you're thinking, I want to be one of these 5,000 odd people, then hit that thumbs up button, please. It would mean a massive amount to me. Anyway, let's have a little look at Wolves' recent results, because I think it's really, really interesting when you actually sit down and look at the recent results of Wolves, because if you looked at their form, 11th in the Premier League, 4 wins, 4 losses, you'd sort of say, well, they've been okay. They've had an alright start of the season. But recently, obviously, drew with Leeds, 1-1 last time out in the Premier League away from home. Again, never easy going to Ellen Road and getting a result. So one 1-1 draw is a decent result. They beat Villa 3-2 away from home the week before that. That was obviously that game I mentioned before, when they were 2-0 down until about the 78th minute, and they come back and won that game 3-2. Beat Newcastle 2-1 at home the week before that. Won at Southampton 1-0 the week before that. Lost 3-2 on pens to Spurs, I believe, in the Carabao Cup the week before that. And their last Premier League loss was actually a home defeat to Brentford 2-0, a few weeks back. So since that defeat to Brentford and the defeat to Spurs, they've gone on to win at Southampton, win at home to Newcastle, win away at Villa, which is a difficult fixture to win, and then get a point at Ellen Road against Leeds, which obviously is a really, really good result. So as I said, a lot of their wins and their draws have come in the last sort of 4-5 weeks of the Premier League season. So they're starting to pick up some form, they're starting to pick up some momentum, they're starting to pick up some, as I said, some results, and it really isn't a great time to play Wolves from an Everton point of view. But ultimately, look, again, the fixtures set out at the start of the season, and you've got to play who you've got to play. But Everton have to show a reaction. This Everton team simply have got to go out there on Monday night and prove and show why they deserve to play these players, why they deserve to play for Everton Football Club, why they deserve to put that shirt on, because that performance against Watford last time out was an utter embarrassment. It was an absolute shambles. Nothing more, nothing less. There's no other way of describing it. It was an absolute embarrassment. The last 15 minutes were disgraceful, but the performance in itself was poor. We should have been away with the game with 15 minutes to go at home to a Watford side that, again, aren't the greatest team in the world. So it's a massive task for this Everton team on Monday night. It is a massive task. As I said, Wolves have got some really, really good talented players. They're in some good form at the moment. They've got a new manager. Things are going well for them. So it's a big task for Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez did give us an update on Richarlison. As I said before, he said he's mentality-wise, he's 100%. He wants to start. Fitness-wise, not so much, but we'll wait and see how he progresses over the coming days, of course. I think they've still got a couple of training sessions to go before Monday's game. And he did give us a massively positive update on Abdoulaye Doucouré as well, which was a massive sigh of relief when I was listening to Rafa Benitez talk earlier this afternoon. He did say that the club are expecting or hoping that Abdoulaye Doucouré will be back fit after the international break. His recovery is going better than expected, and the hope is that he'll be fit after the international break, which is absolutely fantastic news, because we've just spoken before about the importance of Abdoulaye Doucouré for this Everton side. So that is absolutely brilliant news. Let's get into the live comments then before we do our predicted starting 11 and talk a little bit more about the game. If you're watching live, get your thoughts on the live comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Niall sends a wave. What's happening, Niall? Tom says hi, Cam. Hi, Tom. Stephen says the club should not be letting Mina play 3 matches in a short period for Colombia. Everyone knows he can't manage it. Well, again, the reason Yerry Mina is out of Monday's game is because he is still nursing that hamstring injury that he picked up on international duty. We obviously haven't seen him since the last international break. There's another international break coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. So, listen, it's from an Everton point of view, it's quite evident that, for me anyway, in my opinion, you might disagree, you might disagree with this, but in my opinion anyway, Yerry Mina is our most important centre-half. He's our best centre-half. The rest of the back line look so much more comfortable when he's in there than when he's not in there. All of a sudden, Luca Dean's performances go from poor to decent. Same with Michael Keane. Michael Keane next to Yerry Mina is absolutely sound, by the way. Absolutely sound. He looks like a solid, decent centre-half who can put himself about, get about games and put in a good performance. Without Yerry Mina, he looks like a player who should be playing in the League 1, League 2. He's dreadful without Yerry Mina in there. Same with Ben Godfrey. Ben Godfrey with Yerry Mina, absolutely sound. Looks great. Uses pace, confident, etc, etc. Without him in there, he looks abysmal. Same with Seamus Coleman on the right-hand side. So, for me, it's become evidently clear that Yerry Mina is our most important centre-back. For not just for his quality, but for the rest of the defence as well and the rest of the team. So, it isn't ideal in playing 3 games in the space of a week for Colombia and then him needing to come back over to the UK and be fit to play for Everton. We seen it, we talked just before he played his last international game for Colombia. He was playing on a Thursday night, Friday morning, and he was due back in Liverpool for the, before the game against West Ham on the Sunday. So he'd been travelling all day Friday, 12, 13-hour flight, whatever it is. And then the expectation from us as fans was that he'd be fit to start and play a full 90 minutes against West Ham. Obviously, he wasn't. He was on the bench for that game. It had been revealed he picked up a knock, and now we're here without Yerry Mina fit. So the international stuff isn't ideal whatsoever. Eugene says, Everton given new stadium idea by Arsenal at the Bramley-Moore dock move. There you go, fair enough. Philip says, evening Philip, what we doing? Well, Chob says, Rondon, please don't start. Well, we'll wait and see. Philip. Everton, Eugene says, Berbatov makes Everton versus Wolves prediction. Dimitar Berbatov? Interesting. What's the new stadium idea, Eugene? I don't know, to be honest with you, Phil. I've just looked on my phone then, and Everton, I've sent a thing out saying the blueprint, but I assume that is something to do with Wolves, so I don't know what the new stadium stuff is yet. The blueprint is to do with the Wolves game, so who knows, let us know, Eugene. Eugene also says Jean-Luc Vasseur has been appointed Everton women manager. Yes, welcome to the club, to Jean-Luc, of course. Obviously we wish him the very, very best with Everton women. Willie Kirk obviously left the football club a couple of weeks ago. We spoke about that, so massive good luck to Jean-Luc. And yeah, I'll be watching Everton women closely, and hoping that he can put up some improvements of what's been not a great start to the season. Nissy Cover says, Luca Dean needs to step up. He's been dire this season, and Rondon plays in jeans. He hasn't had as great a start to the season whatsoever, and ultimately does need to step up. But I think the problem with the Luca Dean situation that we've got is that it's simple, really, with Luca Dean. He's got no competition. He's got absolutely no competition whatsoever. And I was on Twitter the other day and sort of, listening to some of the conversations that were being having about Luca Dean. And a lot of people were sort of in agreement that Luca Dean's best season was his first season at Everton. Some fans even going as far as to say that other than his first season, he's not actually been that good at Everton, which I disagree with. I think his stats, in all seasons have been very, very impressive, but I understand where people are coming from. Now, the difference between his first season and now, and even last season, is that he had Leighton Baines to compete with in his first season, and it was a Leighton Baines who, again, had been Everton's number one left-back for, 10, 11, 12 years until Luca Dean come in, so he was competing to become the number one and take that sort of role off, again, as I said, the player who'd been Everton's number one left-back for over a decade. An absolute legend, a player that fans adored. Now, obviously, the season after, Leighton Baines, again, wasn't as playing as much, and it was announced that he was going to retire obviously he announced at the end of the season that he was retiring, etc., and he moved on. But since then, i.e. last season, and obviously so far this season, Luca Dean's got no competition, so he's not looking over his shoulder thinking, hang on, if I don't perform to the best of my ability here, then this lad who's a club legend, who's been here for 10 years, who's still very, very capable, by the way, Leighton Baines in Marco Silva's first and second season was still very, very capable of stepping in and doing the job at left back. It wasn't like we were looking at him thinking, yeah, he's been at the club for a while, but he's absolutely dross. He's never getting in over Luca Dean. He was still more than capable, if Luca Dean wasn't performing, to step in and do that role. Okay, fitness-wise and stamina-wise, he mightn't have been able to do it for long term, but for 2 or 3 games to make a point to Luca Dean, he was more than able to do that. So Luca Dean was, I assume, was always looking over his shoulder thinking, I've got to perform here, because Leighton Baines, one of the best left-backs the Premier League has ever seen, is sitting on the bench, chomping at the bit, ready to get in. He hasn't got that now, Luca Dean. He's looking over his shoulder, and he's got John Joe Kenny, who's not even a good right-back, who's probably his nearest cover to left-back, and Ben Godfrey, who's an unfit centre-back, who's his nearest sort of cover as well. Niles Nkunku, of course, has gone out on loan this season to Standard Liège. Thierry Small left in the summer, so there's no competition whatsoever for Luca Dean. So it doesn't matter if Luca Dean puts in an absolutely dreadful performance. And by the way, he was shocking the other day against Watford. Absolutely shocking. It doesn't matter, because he knows he's going to be in the week after. And I'm not saying that he consciously isn't bothered about putting in a bad performance because he knows he's going to start the next week. But subconsciously, his brain is probably thinking, well, there's no competition, so I don't really have to give that extra 10% because I know I'm going to be here next week. I don't have to play like some of these other lads are playing because they've got competition. They know if they don't perform, they'll be out, or fans will turn them. With me, I'm in there next week anyway because I'm the only option. So Luca Dean needs... I don't care how good a player is. I don't care whether you're the best footballer in the world. You need players behind you who are good enough to provide competition, who are good enough for if the manager doesn't think you're playing well, can turn around and go, listen, I'll just bring you out, lad, and he'll come in. Sound, absolutely sound. You can come out for 2 or 3 games and he'll step in. And do you know what? If he steps in and puts in 2 or 3 absolutely unbelievable performances, he'll stay in there and you'll become the number 2. Every player in the world needs that, and Luca Dean hasn't got that. So what I would suggest in the summer, because it's probably not going to happen in January, what I would suggest in the summer is if Everton deem Niles Nkunku still not good enough to be a part of a Premier League squad, we need to go out there and go and buy a backup left back. Eugene says, screen grab of Everton's proposed new stadium at Bramley-Moore Dock. Lavid says, I do back Rafa, at least for the moment, if that makes sense. It's quite obvious that he needs to sign 4 defenders who can play with zonal marking. Should Rafa accept this is what he has to work with, or should players acclimatise to his style better? Well, probably a bit of both, to be honest with you. Ultimately, Rafa Benitez has to accept that this group of players are the group of players that he's got to work with until at the very, very least January, more realistically and reasonably the summer. Because let's be honest, we're not going to do much business in January. We never do. Marcel Brands doesn't like doing business in January. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the January transfer window. You get stung for bang average players and you end up paying a premium on them because teams know you're desperate. So Rafa Benitez has to ultimately accept that this group of players is, he's got to work with this group of players until at least next summer. Therefore, he's got to get the very best out of this group of players, because we don't want to sit here and go, oh yeah, well, Rafa's got to accept that he's got to work with these players. He doesn't want to accept that, so that's another season wrote off. No, I want to try and get the very best out of this season. I want to be challenging for Europe. I want to be finishing in the European positions. So he has got to accept that, but also the players have got to acclimatise to his system and his style, because Rafa Benitez is going to be the Everton manager, I believe, for the foreseeable future. I don't think he's going to leave the football club at any point soon, whether that be from leaving off his own back like certain other managers did, or from being sacked. I don't think either of those things are going to happen in the near future whatsoever. So how many times, how many managers have these players hidden behind? How many managers have these players let down? And we've been very quick to put the blame on the manager. We've been very quick to say it was the manager's fault, this, that, and the other. No, the players, it's about time the players stop hiding behind managers. Stop hiding behind managers and come out and show why you deserve to be playing for this football club. I'm sick of saying, oh, this manager doesn't deserve to manage Everton Football Club, or that manager isn't good enough to manage Everton Football Club. Are half of these players good enough to play for Everton Football Club? Because I don't think they are. And then finally, before we get back into the stream, Ed says, be interesting to see if Rafa succumbs to fan pressure and drops Rondon Cam, or whether he's headstrong in his ideas and starts to make Dobben wouldn't do a worse job as the bar is set so low. Well, look, again, I'm sure Lewis Dobben will be with the squad on Monday night. I don't think he'll start, if you're asking me. I really, really don't think he'll start. But ultimately, it'll be interesting. It'll be really, really, really interesting. Because, again, I think if Rafa Benitez deems Richarlison fit to start, and by fit to start, I mean, obviously... ready, and obviously I think mentality wise he'll be fit to start. Of course he will be, because he always wants to play. But in terms of fitness and levels, whether if Richarlison is deemed fit, I think Richarlison will be straight in there, and Rondon will be benched. If not, it'll be Rondon. Of course it will be Rondon, because Lewis Dobben is again. I'm a big advocate of giving Lewis Dobben a go and giving him, at least half an hour, 35 minutes at the end of games to come on and show what he can do. But let's be honest, I'm not going to sit here and have a 10-minute conversation about Lewis Dobben starting, because he ain't going to start. If Solomon Rondon's there and available, he's not going to start. So, anyway, let's get into my predicted starting 11 ahead of this one. That comment leads us nicely into my predicted starting 11 ahead of the game against Wolves. So, as I said, Rafa Benitez has mentioned that Yerry Mina is still unavailable and nursing a hamstring injury. We know Dominic Calvert-Lewin still isn't fit, and Abdoulaye Doucouré, although we've had a very positive update on Abdoulaye Doucouré, of course, he still isn't ready. Anyway, let's get into it. In goal, I'm going for Jordan Pickford. Despite conceding 5 goals last Saturday, I don't think Jordan Pickford was at fault for any of them. really. I don't. Look, his kicking wasn't great. His distribution wasn't great on Saturday. It does have to be said. But I don't specifically think he was at fault for any of the goals that we conceded. I don't. I thought he saved us on a couple of occasions, made a really, really big save from Josh King at 1-1. And overall, he put in a good performance. Jordan Pickford, he was okay. And let's be honest, he's going to start, isn't he? Because Admir Begovic isn't going to start, so he's going to start. So Jordan Pickford in goal. Left back, I've gone with Luca Dean. As I said, if there was somebody else, if we had backup, if we had competition for Luca Dean, I'm not going to lie, I probably wouldn't start him. Because I think he was an absolute car crash against Wolves. Certainly in that last 15 minutes, I think his performance was an absolute car crash of a performance. But ultimately, we don't have anybody else. He hasn't had a great start to the season. We know he's talented. We know he's got it in him. We know he's got the ability. And I think if we get behind him and we back him, he can show that ability. But he's got to do more, Luca Dean. It's simply, he's got to do more. He's got to show more. He's got to give more. Defensively, he's got to be better. Because, again, he was a massive part of that capitulation against Watford last weekend. Back to then, centre-backs. I've gone for Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey again. Listen, it's not ideal. And again, if Yerry Mina was fit, one of these two would be straight out and be sat watching from the bench. But ultimately, Yerry Mina isn't fit. I know we've got Mason Holgate as backup, but bear with me and we'll talk about Mason Holgate in a moment. I understand that there's Jared Branthwaite on the bench, but how likely are we to see Jared Branthwaite? I don't know. And listen, that leaves us with not many other options. To be honest with you, the only other options are Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. Now, they were an absolute calamity against Watford last weekend, but I can only hope that, as I said before, we see some form of reaction from these two, as well as, you know, the rest of the squad, of course, the rest of the playing staff, of course, but from these two themselves, because specifically because defensively the pair of them were an absolute disgrace last weekend, an absolute disgrace. So I've gone with Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. Right back, I've gone with Seamus Coleman. Again, not the greatest performance last weekend by Seamus Coleman. I thought he was really, really poor. And again, a big part of the debacle last weekend. But who's the alternative? John Joe Kenny, nowhere near good enough. Ben Godfrey at right back, well, yeah, but then we'd have to find somebody else to play at centre half, and we've got no Yerry Mina. So look, for me, I think Seamus will start this game. Into the midfield then. So that's me back line. Obviously, the same back line that completely capitulated last weekend, but there's not many other options. Yerry Mina still isn't available. We've got no backup at left back. We've not got any backup at right back. And there's not many other options. In midfield then, I've gone with a midfield three. Two defensive midfielders. And the one sort of number 10 attacking midfielder. I've gone with Alan and Mason Holgate. Now, I was torn between Mason Holgate and Tyler Onyango. However, I think before we see Tyler Onyango start Premier League games, I think we're more than likely going to see him off the bench first to see how he can fit in that role and do that role. Now, I can't watch another 90 minutes of Tom Davies and Alan running around aimlessly, getting nowhere near the play because they're 45 million times slower than anybody else on the pitch. I can't watch it. I can't watch Andre Gomez coming in and doing the same job as Tom Davies would be doing, and I can't watch Fabian Delph coming in and doing the same job as Tom Davies would be doing. The reality of the situation is Tyler Onyango aside, who's very unlikely to start, nobody else, out of the rest of Everton centre midfielders, nobody else have got the physicality, the pace or the energy that is needed to fill in that space. Now, unless Rafa Benitez changes the system, he spoke about systems today in his press conference, and he said we've been working with the four at the back, because he was asked about whether or not he'd change because of the absence of the core, and he said no, we've been working with it. Well, he didn't say no, we wouldn't change, but he said we've been working a lot with the four at the back, so that gives the indication that it will be a four at the back, and it will be sort of a two in midfield, three in midfield, if you like. So that gives the indication that there is a need for somebody with a bit of energy, with a bit of pace, with a bit of, ability to get about the pitch. And Tom Davies and Alan aren't that partnership. Tom Davies and Andre Gomez aren't that partnership. Alan and Andre Gomez aren't that partnership. So I've gone for Mason Holgate in midfield. Now, we've only seen Mason Holgate once in midfield, and it was a couple of years ago against Manchester United, and he actually performed really, really well, to be honest with you. And then we didn't see him again since. Now, Mason obviously has had a bit of a difficult start to the season. He hasn't really been getting in the team. in the starting 11 or coming off the bench, really. He's played a couple of games in the Cups and he wasn't great defensively. But, other than that, he's been very much a bench player, very much a player that, we don't really see very often. He just fills a space on the bench. Now, I actually think Mason Holgate could do a relatively decent job in the centre of midfield. I do, because I think a lot of his mistakes come from him dilly-dallying on the ball and being stupid on the ball. Now, when you do that as a centre-half, you can see goals, because then if a player gets the ball off you, if you're pissing about with it, he's one-on-one with the keeper, and most half-decent Premier League players will score from that position. If you're doing that in midfield, it's not as vital if you lose the ball. Now, obviously, it's still a mistake and still shouldn't. I'm not trying to sit here and advocate mistakes, but it's not as sort of I suppose it's not as big of a deal if you lose the ball in the centre of midfield and you've got Alan behind you to cover you. Now, as I said, I think physicality-wise, energy-wise, I just think that Mason Holgate or Ben Godfrey need to be in that midfield now. And Ben Godfrey, I think, is the better centre-back out the two, even though I don't think he's great at the moment. Certainly not at the moment. I think Mason, there's a place for Mason in the centre midfield, in my opinion. Unless the manager's going to give the trust and the faith in Tyler Onyango, which would be great, absolutely great, it would be fine. But I doubt he's going to do that. So I've gone with Mason Holgate in the centre midfield. Next to Alan, obviously, look, Alan had the calamity the other day. But again, he's going to start, isn't he? And he's had a good start to the season, Alan, next to Decore, so it's unfortunate that he was poor last week. And then the four sort of up front, the four sort of up front are Demarai Gray, Anthony Gordon, and Josh Townsend, and if fit, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, Richarlison. Now, whichever one of those four plays in the number 10, it might be Demarai Gray, it might be Anthony Gordon. Again, it'll probably be either Demarai Gray or Anthony Gordon, probably Gray, with Gordon on the wing, Townsend on the other side, and then hopefully, as I said, Richarlison. I just don't think I can watch another 90 minutes of Solomon Rondon running around pretending to do anything as a centre forward in the Premier League, because he's just again, I feel sorry for him because it's not his fault, because he's not deciding to start and he's getting a lot of stick for it, but ultimately he has no impact on a game of football. No impact. He is impactfulness, whatever the word is. He has no impact on a game of football whatsoever. So starting him up front and having him play another 90 minutes, you're not going to get anything out of that. So even if Richarlison is 70-80% fit, as long as he's fit enough to the point where there's not a risk of him picking up a further injury, then I'd start him. Even if it's a case of he's going to get tired with 20 minutes to go, I'd rather have us be 2-3 up with 20 minutes to go and then bring Solomon Rondon on to just, cause a nuisance of himself and shore the game up, than have Rondon on there for 80 minutes, be losing or drawing, and have Richarlison to try and come on and change the game and therefore exert more, in energy-wise. But obviously this all depends on Richarlison's fitness and Richarlison's state, Richarlison's fitness state, and we'll see about that. But for me, I'd have Richarlison up front, and then the four behind them, I'd have Gray, Gordon, Townsend, and again, I think Andros Townsend had a great start to the season, albeit wasn't great last week, but I think he's had a great start to the season. I think Demarai Gray, very similar, great start to the season, again, albeit not great the other day. And Anthony Gordon, I actually thought was really, really impressive the other day, and I thought it was unfortunate that he went off. So there you go, that is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sol says we want Gbamin. Listen, if Gbamin is fit and available, I'd have him in there over Mason Holgate. I'd have him in there next to Alan, of course I would. But the fact that the manager didn't even think Jean-Philippe Gbamin could come on with 15 minutes to go against Watford at Goodison last week to shore that midfield up worries me. It really, really worries me, because that was a more blatant substitution, the most blatant substitution of the afternoon. We could all see it. Bring Gbamin on, shore the midfield up, and we'll be sound. And he didn't bring him on. Now that to me says he's either not fit enough or he's just not good enough. And that's a worry for me. But if Gbamin is fit and ready and good enough, etc., and the manager believes that, and if it was just the case of that the manager got it wrong last week, then I'd have Gbamin in there next to Alan, of course I would. But again, we still don't know Jean-Philippe Gbamin's ability and what he'll be able to do, what he won't be able to do. So there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, get your thoughts in the live comments now, and we'll go through them before we finish up. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that thumbs up button. It only takes a second. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. OMG, please don't mention the R word. It's live vid. Philip says, I heard Rafa is holding a street party if Rondon scores. I'm the DJ, mate. I'm the DJ. Eugene says, Everton assistant Duncan Ferguson emerges as surprise name for manager job. Yeah, I've seen that. I don't think those links have got anything in them. Mitchell says, whoever wants Benitez gone, answer me this. Who is going to come in and going to get any sort of results from these players? Fair point. Tom says, congrats. Cheers, Tom. Philip says, right, Mitchell will end up with another failure we've never heard of. Yeah, an Everton fan talks about, says, happy birthday from the other day, Cam lad. Hope you had a boss day. Thank you very much, my mate. It was great. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Where are we? An Everton fan talks about, says, happy birthday. Oh, yeah, we just read that one out. Bright says, me, I'm slow, but hey, not weird, all Cam. Philip says, congrats on the subs, Cam. Always a decent team. Thank you very much, my mate. Really appreciate it. Phil. Same old Everton says, hello, Cameron. How's it going? I'm not too bad. Hope you're doing well. Sol says, Evening Blues, just finished work. Any news on Mina for Monday? Apparently he's not fit, mate. Apparently he isn't fit. But we'll wait and see, of course. We'll wait and see. Where are we? Derby Blues says, love the vids, Cam. Keep up the good work. Come on, you Blues. Thank you very much, my mate. Lavavid says, can you see us finishing higher than 10th with the current squad? Yes, but I could also see us finishing lower than 10th, to be honest with you. It's a long old season. Pokey Jedi says, selling James Rodriguez was a mistake. I trust Rafa though, and I'm willing to give him a chance. And he hasn't had the proper transfer window, and the players who've come in have been cheap and ace. Yeah, fair enough. Moz says, evening Cam, evening everyone. Come on, you Blues. Thank you very much. What's happening, Moz? Pokey says, wonder if Iwobi will score against his favourite team. Wolves, by the way, Iwobi standards are nowhere near. He's been abysmal, showed nothing. Gutters as I wanted to see him do well, just want him to leave. Yeah, listen, I don't think Alex Iwobi is in a position to be starting games of football or have any arguments as to whether or not he's starting. He's done nothing. I'd rather see Anthony Gordon in there at the moment, I would. Mr. Silly Guy says, hi Cam, hope you're well, pal. What are you thinking the score will be on Monday? Hi mate, I'm going to go with an optimistic 2-1 Everton. I could see it going a very different way, but I'm going to go with an optimistic 2-1. Saul says, big blow, that Mina news, one of the best centre-backs in the Prem when fit. Would you give Holgate a go, Cam? The problem is, I think Keane and Godfrey as a centre-back partnership scares me. Keane and Holgate as a centre-back partnership scares me. And if you're thinking Keane and Holgate and Godfrey, then cast yourselves back to the game against QPR a couple of weeks ago where Charlie Austin, who's a bang average English centre-forward, they made him look like bloody Robert Lewandowski. Mohammed says, I'm an Everton fan from South Africa. Besides your top three, every team has been several performances this season. 50 minutes against Watford and 10 minutes against Aston Villa cannot define our season. Interesting. Well, let's see how we perform on Monday night, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. Jamie says, Dean is not fit to lace the boots of Baines. Had some bad injuries, Dean says Pokey. Jamie says, what competition had Baines for left back? Yeah, that's fair enough. But again, you know, two different players in two different situations. I think Luca Dean's best season at Everton was when he had Leighton Baines as competition. Oviedo says Sol. Jamie says Oviedo. Sol says Oviedo was boss when Baines was out in the first Martinez season. Why did Everton sell Robinson, says Jamie? Who knows? Chob says, if Marcel Branzatino will be fail under multiple managers, can he not make the executive decision to try and sell him? Well, you can only try and sell a player if another club wants to come in and buy him, can't you? You can't try and sell him if no one wants him. Then it says the club's culture is bad, real bad, from board to the first team. Need the leader to come in and take charge like Klopp did for them lot. I would agree, absolutely. But hopefully Benitez can be that man. Sol says no club would be stupid enough to pay the wages for the likes of Iwobi and run his contract out. Pokey says signing Iwobi reminds me when Liverpool signed Stuart Downing. That's how bad he's been. And the sad thing about Dan is probably have more goal involvement, says Sol. Well, yeah, look, again, we'll, we can discuss Alex Iwobi all afternoon, can't we? But there you go, look. Then it says, hit the like, lads, thank you very much. And Gary Ward says, hardy, mate, hardy. Lavit says, I have to admit, I was surprised at your comment about Alan. I thought he was Mr. Perfection, but you go to the games. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on Alan. I think he's very good, Alan. I think next to Abdoulaye Doucouré, he is very, very, very good. I think he looks brilliant because he's got somebody else there to do the running and to do the getting about the pitch and stuff. Without Doucouré in there, I think his pace and his lack of pace sort of gets exposed a little bit. But as a footballer, I really, really like Alan, and I think that partnership with Doucouré works. But without Doucouré, obviously he's exposed a lot more. But anyway, look, as I said, difficult game on Monday night. Obviously, it's up to Everton to go out there and react, show a reaction. You know, give us something to be proud of. Give us a performance to look back on and go, do you know what? We worked hard today. We battled today. And hopefully, if we can do that, we can come away with all 3 points. But it will be difficult. Wolves are a difficult team. It's a tough game. And, you know, of course, we'll wait and see what happens. Monday night, we will be live with the game review on the following Tuesday. Obviously, we'll have the instant match reaction and the player ratings up on Monday night. So don't forget to check those out as well. But until then, that is it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. A massive thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching this YouTube video, get your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. If you could hit that like button, it would mean an absolutely massive amount to me. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would be absolutely brilliant. But anyway, big thanks for watching. Once again, massive thank you for 5,000 subscribers. It does mean a massive amount to me. I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.